Uncovered, brought to you by Discovery Travel and Living. Get it alive.
India, a haven for outsourcing, be it data or software research. Here, brilliant minds come cheap. And this is where every foreign company wants to move its business, to save that extra penny. And while everybody is celebrating India's great outsourcing story, there is a darker side. What do you do when the product you spent years and money researching on is stolen and sold with effortless ease on the internet? And having stolen everything you stood for, the criminal roams free on the streets, while the law stands and gapes in amazement. Welcome to Uncovered.
One of our colleague, he just approached me, he was a good friend of mine also, so he just approached me and just asked me why don't we take the software, and I would do the marketing stuff, and as you have developed on the software, you know much about it, even the design of it, and we can just rename the software and then sell it in the market. Well, that was it. He was just telling me to take the whole source code itself, and we would just rename the software and then sell it across.
These are actually lines which are written, and if you have that source code, you can then change it, modify it, you can make copies of it, you can make small changes and make copies of it. You know, there are ways that you can modify which you can't do if you just make a pirated copy. You can't enhance it, you can't fix bugs in it, you can't make any changes if you just have what is known as an object code copy, which is the machine readable or computer readable copy. If you have the source code, then you can make all copies.
Get your hands on the code and you can easily make a lookalike of a Microsoft PageMaker or print identity cards for high security firms. It holds the key to a product that could give any software firm the upper hand in the market and change the security dynamics of even a nation. Today, it is also the latest buzzword in the world of computer crimes.
It's like you stole all the designs of some automobile, like some car engine, and then you just come up with a different car with different bodies.
In August 2002, a former employee of the software firm Geometric Software Solutions was caught red-handed trying to sell a data source code. It was the property of the company's American client, SolidWorks. He had placed a price of $240,000 for the code. It was the first reported case of data source code theft in India. It wasn't the last. In November, Cisco recorded the biggest hit of them all. Cisco admitted that they were investigating a source code theft. A group called the Source Code Club claimed they had the code and offered a price of $240,000 for it. Anyone with money was free to contact them. A mail sent to Cisco evoked no response. What we found out is more disturbing. Our sources tell us that after initial investigations were through, the leads are now pointing towards India. How groups like the Source Code Club get their hands on a data source code is not so easy to trace. But there are employees who are on the constant lookout for a buyer, as we discovered.
There was a friend of mine, so he learnt about all the loopholes in the system. He saw that spam filter is very strict. It is not allowing any particular text in an email, so he tried to change the extension of the attachments. So by changing the extension of the attachments, he was able to defeat the spam system. So he was using all these loopholes to upload the source code. He was using the Bluetooth device. So if company is disabling other devices, they use new devices, modern techniques.
The first company to suffer was Geometric Software Solutions, an incident that made cybersecurity a burning issue overnight in this country. But more on that after the break. When the deal came through, software firm SolidWorks was a client that Geometric Software Solutions Limited was proud of. The Pune-based firm had a skilled staff of 500 working round the clock to provide 3D design solutions. But someone in GSSL wanted more. During his tenure at GSSL, Shekhar Verma left for home like his other colleagues. He was frisked by the security guards, but no one noticed an innocent CD that he carried on his person. In that CD was the data source code for a product that GSSL was developing for SolidWorks.
There were several versions or releases of the product. So in 2002 there had it was a growing product, and to the best of my recollection, at that point in time the sales were about $60 million a year.
Verma left the company under mysterious circumstances, but he was not finished yet. In 2002, a year later, someone from India contacted a firm in the US offering to sell the source code for a SolidWorks product. Verma was back in business.
He contacted another American company which showed interest in purchasing this. So subsequent interchange of exchange of emails, a deal was made, and this engineer, young engineer who was working and who had stolen the source code, he demanded that $20,000 should be wired to his account.
In August that year, Verma set up a rendezvous for a buyer at a 5-star hotel in New Delhi. No sooner was the transaction through that the CBI moved in and arrested Verma for allegedly attempting to sell the code. The buyer was FBI agent Nanit Day. He had offered to sell the code for $200,000 today, but it was not the price that had GSSL worried.
There were a couple of customers who were kind of, discussing and in serious discussions. Now, I know it's hypothetical because finally they didn't sign. But I felt that this issue, because they didn't come to India at all, after that. So, and I don't know now, I mean it's been like a year, but certainly in the next 6 months after that they didn't come, they didn't go and sign with somebody else. I think they got thrown off by the whole concept that, so not only did we lose business, but I think the country also.
Joining me now in the studio are two very eminent guests. We've got Mr. Vijay Mukhi here, who's a well-known cyber security expert and also heads the e-security wing of NASSCOM, and also helps the Bombay police, right? The Mumbai police. And I've also got with me here Mr. Ved Narayan, who is the Vice President Asia Pacific of SolidWorks. And you've come all the way from Singapore. Thank you very much, Mr. Narayan, for joining us. Mr. Narayan, you've been a victim, so to say, of a source code having been stolen. Please recount for us what really you went through.
First concern for us was really to recover our source code. And having done that is to have enough evidence so that this case can be prosecuted. If you really see what happens, right, we have caught this guy red-handed, we have the strong evidence.
And that too, your competitor was kind enough to brief you, otherwise you wouldn't even have known.
Sure enough, if not competitor, then somebody else would have brought it to our notice, because he tried to sell, he sent it to multiple sources trying to sell it, but it's only one of them who basically came to us and said, look, somebody's trying to do that. So many people knew about it, but one person, it just took one person to come forward and say this is what really has happened.
Right, we spoke to someone who had been approached to steal a company's source code. While he refused to do so for ethical reasons, he says source codes in India are just a click away.
That is all easy, like the internet is there, like you can access you can open your Hotmail account, Yahoo account, whatever email account you have, you can zip the source code and just upload it on their email account and forward it to other email addresses as well. It's so easy, just a click,
You just heard this guy saying that how easy it is to steal source codes. How easy is it really?
Well, easier than what he said. And especially if you are part of the security department, it's even easier. And I've seen lots of companies that security policies, principles are laughable. So it is a very serious issue.
But there may be so many others which never make it, to the media or even to the cops or whatever. But how serious is this issue?
Well, if you look at worldwide figures, not even 3% of cybercrime gets reported. In India, it's maybe 0.1, 0.2, 0.3%. I don't think we've really understood how to protect our information assets.
And does this become even a more serious issue as we talk about outsourcing and companies giving away a lot of their important codes back home here in India?
Yes, in fact, from what I know, most American, British, European companies, they have a checklist to say, what are the points we consider before we outsource to you? I think number 1 or number 2 on the list is not physical security, but cyber security. And if India is not going to, let's say, in the minds of people, have this perception of being cyber secure, outsourcing will stop coming to India.
Some players feel it is too early to call the thefts in India a rising trend. What is, however, worrying is the way the Indian legal system has responded to such cases. And that is what differentiates the United States from India.
Essential difference is the fact the enforceability of the law and the definition of the crime is very clear in US law, European law, whereas it's not been tested. While it is in the statute books or statute, it's not been tested in Indian courts, and our courts really work on precedents or precedents. So we don't have a precedent in this matter. So the reason why people can rest easier in US is they know the law is quite easily enforceable.
You know the law, you've been dealing with enforcers of this law. Why is this guy out on bail when there was such incriminating evidence against him?
Well, I think the very simple reason being that world over, if you steal my computer, then there is a punishment, but if you steal something virtual, then the punishment is higher. I think our laws don't reflect that.
He came to India to cash in on the outsourcing boom. Today his operations are shut and he is stuck in a messy legal battle. Not against the alleged source code thief, but against the local police to start investigations. More on that when we come back. Sandeep Jolly, the owner of Jolly Technologies, was operating from San Carlos in the US. Then in 2004, he decided to cash in on the hottest outsourcing destination, India.
And there were other NRIs, you can call them, like Indians living in the US who want to work on current technology, like challenging research, and they want to invent something, and they don't find much opportunities in India. And this was kind of what I had in mind, like have some room for like some place for these people to come back and continue to do the work. So that's why I started. And then the second part is, again, there's like cost saving in India. The operational costs are lower.
He hired a group of young enthusiastic software engineers and began operations in March 2004. A few months into operations, Jolly's executives say they noticed one of their recruits spending a lot of time on the internet. Taking precautions, he moved her to a different department, but according to him, the damage had already been done.
We found that she was uploading like this huge data to her Yahoo and Reddit mail account. Then we tried to look at the data itself, and we saw that she deleted most of these files. Then we used this file recovery tool, which recovers recently deleted files, and we found that these were all our source code.
They confronted her and decided to file a complaint with the closest police station.
They said, no, we don't. There are no data protection laws in India. There are no IP laws in India, so we can't register this case.
The FBI refused to comment on the case, Sources in the department, however, told Uncovered that they were aware of the Jolly case, but since it was already being taken up by the local police, they would not like to interfere. Can you tell us a little about what happened in case of Jolly?
Okay, in the case of Jolly, I was one of the people who was called in.
Right.
Now, the first problem I have is that today I don't know whether source code theft took place or not.
Why is that?
Because for the very simple reason that in the case of Jolly, they have a computer system. This computer system is connected to the outside world. Now, they maintained no logs at all, right? Which means that there is no way I can today say that I have any evidence that any source code left Jolly. So that's the first problem. Now, assuming we do go to Yahoo and we see the email will clearly say where it came from. Now, that trail will stop outside of Jolly, so I can't even pinpoint which machine sent the email. So I have absolutely no evidence to say anything about Jolly, and I think a lesson that we should all learn from the Jolly case is that if companies are not going to maintain adequate security precautions, then there is no way people like me can do anything. There's no way the police can also do anything.
Right, but in the case of Jolly, we understand that he's actually taken the Mumbai police to court, saying that the Mumbai police wasn't even helping out in tracking down the people.
Well, that's not very true, because I interviewed everybody there. You know, we met in the Mumbai police, one of the few cases that I was personally involved, and I asked them for evidence. They said they will give me the evidence. To date, they haven't given me or the Mumbai police any evidence at all, because they don't have any logs. Now, this is the only company I know that when an employee joins, you have physical controls, but you have no virtual controls. And when you ask them, how come you don't have a security policy? Today, everybody knows everybody's password. There are no roles, no nothing. And their answer was, we trust people.
Mr. Narayan, how closely are multinationals like yours looking at this entire security aspect?
Well, it's a serious concern and issue amongst all US companies, or I should say global companies outside India. But most recently, as BSA, Business Software Alliance, the members, which is all the leading software companies in the world, the CEOs went and met Alan Greenspan, and this was the first and foremost top priority issue about protecting intellectual property across the world. And people are watching because people are concerned. When they started the outsourcing, the concern was there, but there was no wake-up call till the case like JSSL happened.
While multinationals outsourcing business to India have not pressed the panic button yet, there is clearly cause for concern. India's cybersecurity system is under watch.
Every client meeting I go, that is the first thing that they bring up. What happened to the GSSL case? Will it happen to us also? So I mean, like, it has happened almost like 2.5 years ago. It was completely, the person was nabbed red-handed by both the FBI and the CBI, and still the person is outside in the bail, and the case hasn't been come to a conclusion yet. So that brings some doubts into the minds of the people, thinking that, okay, if I take this and if somebody steals it, what is that I have? What is my insurance against it? I cannot go to the law saying that this guy has stolen, please punish him. And the employees are not, they are not feared that, the law is going to caught them up sometime.
How does it change your planning? I mean, for instance, have you become far more circumspect today about passing on a lot of your critical information to India?
It's not about India. This is just one-off incident. This can happen anywhere in the world. Just because India is leading in the outsourcing, it's on the radar screen of everybody. People are just waiting to see what is the outcome of such thing. Because maybe it's 3 years, maybe it's 1 month. We don't know. Maybe he goes free. But this will set an example as a deterrent. There's no precedence, as you rightly heard Manu Papre and JSSL. So people are looking to set an example, right? And so that it acts as a deterrent. But to tell you honestly, it's not going to impact the outsourcing business.
At NASSCOM, have you all really taken up this issue?
In fact, last Saturday, we had a meeting of the National Software Advisory Board in Delhi. I'm a member of that. But everyone realized that this was one issue that we need to push the government with. But as I said, our role is limited. We can give the suggestions. It's for the government to implement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mukhi, and thank you very much, Mr. Narayan, for joining us.
Thank you for
today on
inviting us.
Uncovered. One thing is clear. Developments in every case are being closely followed. And if these thefts are not nipped in the bud, it could tarnish India's image of a great outsourcing destination. For our part, we'll keep our eyes on what definitely is the tip of an iceberg. Because we believe the truth must be told.
Uncovered, brought to you by Discovery